One Punch Man is an absolutely brilliant series with some of the craziest strength feats. However, no matter how serious it gets, the story always returns to its core identity of being a comedic parody on mostly shonen superhero stories, and I freaking love it. Like, just look at how many tropes the series has played into over its running time, it's actually mental. The literally world-destroying fights are awesome, but here today we gladly return to the story's roots and delve into the brand new Neo Heroes arc. This arc here has some of the greatest foreshadowing and future setup weaved in with the most ridiculous of conversations. We revisit almost everyone of importance as they make some hard decisions and are constantly graced with Saitama's bald-ass dome interacting with people. So, of course, subscribe if you are new around here and push this video to 5k likes. If we smash that, I'll drop the full, 8-hour long One Punch Man story that I've been working on. Enough of me shilling though, sit back and relax as we delve into the Neo Heroes arc from One Punch Man. Elsewhere, in some random-ass suburb, we find Tatsumaki being asked to take part in a commercial to recruit new heroes. Obviously, girl doesn't want absolutely anything to do with that. However, after she remembers Saitama's words on how he himself was once very weak, not even able to defeat a wolf-level threat, decides to begrudgingly accept. Getting pampered in preparation, Tatsumaki thinks that at the end of the day, at least this commercial will be a great opportunity to let new heroes know exactly what it means to be a hero. Taking to the studio, she thinks to herself that she can't do a hero's job by half-assing it. Powering up slowly and knowing it's a harsh world where death is always lurking over your shoulder, she throws her hands forth and reiterates with herself that she needs to drill the level required to become a hero into their skulls. Unleashing her terrible tornado and sending cameramen flying, she does this as a true representation of what it means to be an S-class hero. On air, I don't even know how they've managed it, but their editing skills exceed mine. Somehow, Tatsumaki, instead of throwing down and destroying the studio to show an S-class's skill, she's shown dancing around in a cutesy manner while asking the general population to apply, otherwise she'll twist them up. On the phone with Sweet, Tatsumaki, utterly enraged, asks if he was to blame. According to him, he took the original footage and actually used an AI generation tool to change it to exactly how he wanted it. Hearing him hang up on her, Fubuki then rolls through the door behind her sister and compliments her cutesy new commercial. Walking into Sweet's room, his assistant relays that the commercial was a huge success, to which he chadly replies that of course it was, he produced it after all. Elsewhere in the city, a man watches Tatsumaki's new advert when a random female walks up asking if he happens to be Mr. Axel. Typical anime or mangaka introducing the female character with that bossy of hers first. It's always a chest or ass shot before we get the full character introduction. It's so damn deviant of them and they need to chill out a little bit, but either way, the woman turns out to be Shizuka, a scout for the Hero Association. Revealing his jacked up self, Axel questions why another scout is trying to track him down. Back at the Hero Association itself, the higher-ups all comment that their publicity stunt went extremely well. By improving the image through commercials and by reporting that all the damage done in the surrounding area was caused by a group of demon-level monsters being repelled by Tatsumaki, they've been able to restore trust in the eyes of a large majority of wealthy residents. After they all compliment McCoy for his genius, another points out that it's gone and lowered their overall confidence in Metal Knight though. Firstly, his guard robots failed. Then there's the flimsiness of the building that they're currently living in. After spending tens of billions having built this place, they all doubt that they can really rely on him anymore for further business. They also think that the same goes for Tatsumaki. This time, they turned a blind eye due to the arrangements made by Mr. McCoy, but she's just becoming too much of a risk. While the commercial was highly successful, the higher-ups question if they've been able to find any sort of increase in manpower. Reporting that they haven't seen any increase in the numbers of applicants, one of the higher-ups questions what exactly is going on then. Elsewhere, both Axel and Shizuka sit down in a cafe and begin going over business. Not hesitating, she goes on to tell him that more and more powerful monsters are appearing on an almost daily level. Outside of Tatsumaki and a number of other heroes, many of the others are really only just fodder garbage that can only do well when they band together. Still, S-classes are unreliable, and the A-classes and below just keep adding to the ranks of injured people on a payroll. The association feels like it's imperative to strike while the iron's hot and replenish their fighting forces. Mentioning that it sounds like she treats the heroes as expendable goods, Axel asks if this is why they need him, to which she affirms. Being revealed as the leader of the vigilante group of hunters, Axel asks her who the hell the association thinks they are. From what he's heard, they all got bested by a lone hero hunter, making it seem like those huge donations weren't going to anything of actual use. Confirming to him that the majority of their budget is just being spent on maintaining their approval ratings or fixing damaged locations, their sponsors are always monitoring the ratings closely, so it's important to keep things in check, and she explains that a way to fix things had Axel as a key component. The association's plan is that they would give the vigilante hunters an opportunity to work as real heroes, a private corporation consisting of 53 young civilian volunteers who are skilled in combat, even managing to eliminate a demon-level disaster by themselves. Slowly sipping on his tea, Axel regrettably informs her that there is only 48 left. 5 of his best men died in the fight against that demon-level threat. Trying to convince him more, she says his activities won't change and they can offer him any kind of support from medical to battle equipment. Along with that, they can guarantee him a position as an S-class hero. However, the other members would still need to work their way up from C or B depending on their initial test. Becoming annoyed, Axel explains that him declining isn't about getting special treatment. Most of his group of hunters have lost someone dear to them in a monster disaster in the past, and because of that, they inherently don't trust the Hero Association. All this money and power, yet in the end, all they're really interested in protecting is a small group of rich people. The new headquarters they built in what used to be a city is now being used as a shelter facility exclusively for people with a literal boatload of cash. Another rumour also emerged where apparently they're letting a bunch of heroes live there while making them double as part-time security guards. To Axel and his group, the Hero Association isn't working in the public interest anymore, so they have no desire to put themselves in the middle of an already messy situation and risk getting corrupted in a similar way. Stunned, Shizuka sighs while saying she'll try reaching out at a later date again. Annoyed with her nonchalant reply, Axel lets her know an extremely vital piece of information. The Hero Association won't be around much longer, and she should really start to look for another job as soon as she can. Elsewhere, a short man introduces himself to a hulking sumo fighter as a huge fan. This giant of a sumo wrestler is Japan's current champion with 700 wins in a row. Sweating after his workout finally finishes, Super Sumo Yokozuna Raiden gets annoyed after once again being approached by the association and once again reiterates that he has no intention of fighting for them. The short bloke tries goading him by mentioning that his strength denies human understanding and they really need him. Knowing that that may be so, and that there has been a rapid increase in monsters, Raiden points out that the police and military have had their hands full just maintaining social order. Plus, the number of heroes who can actually fight these stronger monsters is extremely small. Screaming back that he's exactly right and this is why they need him to join as a new S-class hero, Raiden still refuses, albeit extremely politely. The man tries mentioning that he'll be compensated extremely well, but Raiden laughs, stating that they all say the same thing and he in fact has a prior commitment. And not so long from now, the new launch of a Hero Association will be announced and he's already made a commitment to them. Back in the cafe, Axel explains that from here, all his boys will join as a part of the new hunters. Several hunters of the Hero Association sponsor companies also plan on moving over, and naturally, they've all reached out behind the scenes to pretty much all of the S-class heroes. Elsewhere, Genos relays this information to Dr. Casino, who asks him what exactly he plans on doing. After all, he did say he had some earlier suspicions about the inner workings of the Hero Association. Going to say whether he chooses to stay or leave, and then skips over to Saitama spitting juice all over his screen upon seeing Tatsumaki act all cutesy in that bloody commercial. Elsewhere, in a forested location, we find Flashy Flash questioning a monster about God. Realizing that fodder crap like this dude doesn't have a clue where he is, the S-class hero changes the question and asks it about where he could find the remnants of the Monster Association. Bringing up a picture of Manako, he asks for one that looks just like this highly detailed drawing. Not even actually having a damn clue, the monster refused to answer and instead tried to attack Flashy Flash through the ground. Without hesitation, Flashy Flash gets gassed up and sliced the monster into several hundred pieces. Analysing his perfect drawing, Flashy Flash is almost certain Manako was one of the few direct people to have actual contact with the god he knows of. Knowing that it would be an absolute pain if the other heroes hunted her down first, Flashy Flash comes up with the genius idea of asking Saitama for help. Despite his weird looks, bro knows he isn't just anybody and believed that with a top tier mentor, he could become someone of use. Flashing off elsewhere, we find Tank Top Master, who after crunching weights and losing Fubuki's buff from the Monster Association arc, has returned to his normal size. Once arriving at the 37th Tank Top meeting, he sadly realised that some of the members had fled after witnessing the previous devastating battle. Not too bothered by the change, Tank Top Man announces that he feels a new Tank Top wind blowing in. Right on cue, 3 new recruits appear in front of the group and tear their clothes off. Having replaced them with a tank top, the 3 mention how they're all moved by their new master's performance against the monsters and have come to be initiated into the ranks of the Tank Toppers. The S-Class hero thanks them for all coming out and announces that they're all going to train together to attain an even further mastery of tank top wearing. Elsewhere, Monster Chick Man, remember like good old Phoenix Man from Child Emperor's battle? Well, after his defeat, the dude reverted to this chick here. Now, in a completely different career path, he has decided to take up life as a traffic duty person and on the daily helps kids make their way to school, which is, pretty nice of him. Sensing something, he turns and spots Child Emperor staring at him. As time passes, we then find the two over in some random ass restaurant. Chickman elaborates on how after he lost the fight and turned into a chick, he expected to slowly over time become Phoenix Man again. Like a crazed maniac though, he laughs, asking Child Emperor if he ever thought he would have stayed a chick for this damn long. Knowing that Child Emperor has a gap pointed at his crotch though, the chick tells him to chill out, man. Currently, he's useless, a rare powerless creature trying to find a way of life in this harsh society. Randomly, a group of kids spot the chick and scream out his name, pulling the costumed man's attention in their direction. Sipping on his tea, Bro says he's pleased with his current line of work. Still, what is it that he wants him to do? Slurping on his milkshake, Child Emperor reveals that Chickman's information about the Hero Association's dark side was true. Now he asks for the source of his intel along with everything he already knows. At the same time, Super Alloy Darkshine is seen relentlessly training at his gym. Sadly, he's currently depressed as he no longer feels capable of fighting and is still deathly afraid of his next battle. Falling further into darkness, he tells himself that he can't handle it anymore. Watching from a slightly open door nearby, Mizuki, with a look of concern, worries for him. Skipping away once more, we find thousands of these foresty looking foes chasing down a group of screaming civilians. Apparently, this is a group of monsters who go by the Forest Folk, and due to the hatred they have for human civilization, they've begun invading the city in order to restore greenery back to the beautiful world. Which is, it's kind of going back to the original, I guess, monsters that we had in One Punch Man and everything with, Deep Sea Dude and whatever his name was and whatnot, and the other ones we had in the first season. I like it. Suddenly, a stick of dynamite twirls its way through the sky and explodes at the feet of the attacking monsters. Realizing that his attacks were arse, Dynamite Man points out how lucky they are that the monsters are slow. Speaking up, Recluse Samurai points out that they've been surrounded, so it doesn't even matter if the enemy's slow. Needing a way to escape, Class A Magic Trick Man tells them to quickly follow him. Spinning around his wand, Broski activates a dual ability, sending out a rainbow smoke screen in combination with his savage white crows. Rushing forwards himself now, he screams back for all of the others to follow and run past the enemy while they're confused. Not taking into account the routes though, eventually all of the heroes are caught up in the unbreakable binding. Powered up by the magic of a tank top, the tank top squad suddenly bursts its way onto the scene and frees the trapped heroes, much to their gratitude. Not proceeding to slow down, the tank toppers continue forward and absolutely lay out the incoming monsters. Having smashed through all of the fodder ranks, Tank Top Master is halted as he plows into a seemingly immovable object. Unable to go anywhere, most of the attacking heroes are then caught by the tree's large roots. Holding them up and beginning to squeeze the life out of them, the Forest King asks if they really thought he was going to let everyone escape. Tossing the beaten heroes down to his children, the Forest King is all of a sudden caught by surprise as his forest folk incinerate and turn to dust before his eyes. Remarking that the power upgrade is definitely suitable as expected from Dr. Casino, Genos is certain that he can battle dragon level threats now. Looking at the splintery freak in front of him, Bro knows he wants to go and ask Saitama for another fight, but defeating this comes first. Throwing up his hands, Genos proclaims that he will eliminate the Forest King. So, I'm imagining that the Forest King gets off-screened as next up we boost to the Hero Association, or more specifically Saitama's new apartment. There, Genos notes that he will immediately speak to the association to arrange more space in his apartment. Saitama though points out how he specifically chose the smallest one possible, since it makes him feel more at ease. Genos tries to go on and say that he'll bring everything round in the morning, yet, since the place is even smaller, Baldy doubts there will be enough space. Unworried, Genos takes up the role of a decoration, thinking this works around the spacing issue. Still, Saitama protests, claiming that there isn't anything else he can learn by observing his day-to-day life anymore. Not entirely agreeing with what Bro's saying, Genos, equipped with his new updates, asks Saitama for another sparring match, to which he agrees. Leaving the association, the duo end up finding a deserted mountainous location. Standing opposite each other, Saitama asks if this place is all goods, to which Genos agrees. Then, as his core begins to swell with energy, thanks his master in advance for this opportunity. Fully bursting with light now, sparks of lightning radiate away from Genos as he activates his new, improved lightning core. Unable to even see a damn thing, like Saitama has just straight up flashbanged here, a confident Genos launches himself off the ground and throws a direct punch towards the Baldy. Before making contact though, Genos stops directly in front of Saitama's face, sending out a shockwave that destroys the surroundings. Obviously, pretty reminiscent of exactly what Saitama did to Genos way back in the first season. Curious, Saitama asks if he's going to fight. Having completely changed his mind though, Genos says there isn't a point and the only thing fighting would do is get his outfit dirty. Instead, he asks if he can instead ask a question. Walking up behind him, Genos asks if he thinks he's even gotten slightly stronger. Saitama nonchalantly says he's probably gotten a little stronger, after all he can always change his parts. Questioning it all though, Genos wonders if changing his parts can truly even make him stronger. Seeing his student down in the fields, Bro knows this is where he needs to step in and give him some wise words of encouragement. Getting his attention, Saitama proudly tells him that the flashing move he did earlier was super bright. Whether or not he got stronger doesn't matter, at least he got brighter. Feeling utterly violated by this, Genos was able to tell earlier on that Saitama wasn't closing his eyelids due to how bright his power-up was. It was because his strength is of absolutely no concern to him. Looking down at a random beetle struggling to move some object, Genos is sure Saitama was never watching him. From the very start, he's been nothing more than a burden. It's only been 2 months since Genos became his disciple. Still, from Saitama's perspective, he hasn't even grown in the tiniest of bits. He also felt it, a vague sense that he hadn't grown himself, one that makes him unable to ignore the sensation of stagnation. Initially, he was given the task of making it into the top 10 strongest heroes, by Saitama. Now he feels like it's all just a path to a dead end, competing with people that are at a far lower level than that of Saitama. No matter how much time passes, it's becoming evident that he'll never attain the strength he truly desires there. From his perspective, Genos thinks it's time for a change and tells Saitama that he's probably going to do so. Soon, a new hero organization will be created, one that goes by the Neo Heroes. Genos thinks that Saitama's probably already heard about it, but the Baldy actually says he hasn't. According to Genos, in response to the weird increase in monster disasters, the wealthy Mr. Agoni partnered up with a few political and industrial businesses before founding the Hero Association. However, after only the 4th year, it was evident that many people began to harbour doubts about the inner workings. On top of that, a variety of differing scandals involving key staff members were leaked to media outlets. At the current time, they're still trying to clean up things using biased media coverage and commercials specifically aimed to boost their public image. Genos is almost certain though that every single one of the scandals are yet to be leaked and they could critically damage their reputation. If they're unable to change from how it's currently operated, then the Hero Association may go under entirely. In anticipation of this, Genos, like previously mentioned, announces that a new group of heroes called the Neo Heroes have sprung into action. They've already begun headhunting heroes from within the association and apparently have even better anti-monster weapons as well as better pay packages for heroes. Genos relays that they told him they would take into account both the current association's joint know-how plus all of the mistakes it has made over its lifetime and use that to improve their own hero organization. Curious about who exactly told him this, Genos tells Saitama that it was some scouts from the Neo Heroes. Current heroes who are affiliated with the Neo group call themselves Neo Heroes rather than Pro Heroes. Apparently the number of candidates have already exceeded 2,000 compared to the 600 Pro Heroes hired by the association. They reached out to each and every single one of the top caliber heroes in the association, and apparently even some of the S-class heroes will transfer over. Along with them, they plan to invite any strong individuals who haven't been in the public eye yet. Genos thinks it's possible he could even obtain some kind of information from them on how to become stronger. Turning to his disciple, Saitama asks if the original reason he wanted to become stronger was for some form of revenge. Affirming this, Genos says that he needs to destroy the rampaging cyborg whose identity is still unknown. Questioning if these cyborgs even alive, Saitama lets him know that someone else could have destroyed him already. Like perhaps, what if it wasn't even a pro-hero who took it out? What if he took it out himself? Genos says that he doesn't doubt Saitama would have won against the cyborg, but doubts that he would have forgotten such a difficult fight. Thinking to himself, Saitama knows it's a bit different as he can barely remember the monsters he's even killed himself. He then asks Genos if he believes he could beat the cyborg in his current form, to which Genos responds that he's honestly unsure. However, continues on to say that if he ever does track him down, wants to make sure he wins, and that's why he's thinking about transferring over to the Neo Heroes. Not worried, Saitama just wishes him good luck on his new path then. Still not freaking done though. Genos reveals that the Neo Heroes asked him to let them know of anyone he could possibly introduce to them. Knowing that bro is literally him, Genos suggests that Saitama joins them. He also mentions that the Hero Association doesn't think much of him, and his endorsement would mean a lot to the Neo Heroes. Gazing off into the distance, pondering his decision, Saitama turns and declines. To him, shit's way too much effort. Hearing this, Genos decides to stay in the Hero Association with him. Which is like, bruh, God, I love how ridiculous this manga is. Bro just spent half a day explaining the reasons as to why he should join this group and attempting to get Saitama in as well, only to instantly biff it out the moment his master refuses. Yeah, it was like almost at a pointless 5 minutes there, but you know, we continue on. Failure in life begins when you aspire to become someone who is nothing like you. Papillon 800 is sure he's heard a quote like this, but can't even understand what the hell he's currently taking part in. Asking if he's ready, we find that Papillon is suspiciously in contact with McCoy back at HQ. After telling the old dude to shut it, he double checks if they want him to lose and annoyingly demands they hurry up. Executing the command, a random transport truck then pulls up and begins opening its cargo bay. Back at HQ, McCoy gets his assistant to up the live feed and connect it to the venue's screen. Flashing into a random room, it's announced to everyone gathered that one of the association's drone cams has picked up a monster who's appeared in M-City. At any moment now, heroes should be receiving their orders and begin to rush in. The estimated disaster level of this tiny rat is crazily enough demon. Looking at their phones, the betters are given the average multiplier for each hero just as the first hero starts to show up. Of course, it's no one other than Papillon who's seen notifying HQ of his arrival. Screaming that he's been blocked off by a torrent of enemies and can't handle it alone as a C-class hero, asks for reinforcements from McCoy. As per the script though, the old fart just denies his request and tells him that he has to hold out for a short while. Disgusted that only a singular C-class hero showed up, a few of the patrons bicker between themselves at the absurdity of the situation. Hero gambling. Turns out that this is actually a hidden source of income for the association. On top of that, on odd occasions, matches were carefully rigged to allow the major sponsors to win. In fact, the demon level threat that Papillon is getting ready to fight is really only wolf level. Papillon himself isn't even the C-class rank 333 hero as well, bro's actually B-class rank 4 Mad Devil Yankee. To win these like rigged matches here, the association will disguise heroes as weaker fighters and have them destroy monsters with one hit. Running in now and while personally thinking to himself, Yank knows he ain't a fan of bullying the weak, so as he jumps up to give it a half-assed beating, hopes the monster will strike him back. Immediately freaking the hell out, the rat yolks up and hits Yankee with a fat right hook. Floating through the air confused with what just happened, it skips back over to HQ as everyone begins laughing. Crashing into some garbage bags, he looks up and sees the rat legit bricked up and flexing. Wondering what the freak this even is, he was sure this was a wolf level threat, Yankee begins to start blacking out. Fading between reality and the shadow realm, Yankee thinks back to when McCoy told him the truth about the association. McCoy went on to explain that the job can only be done by trustworthy heroes, something he sees in him. Immediately refusing though, as he finds the idea of hero gambling an insult to other heroes, McCoy laughs and elaborates on how he expected to see this from the get-go. Looking at his data, he can see that bro used to be a famous delinquent in his hometown. After being influenced by Moomin Rider though, he decided to try and become a hero, which according to the data, put him back on the right path in life. McCoy crudely says that his sick mother at the Hero Hospital must be very proud of him. Like an actual dick, he then questions if she's up for a surgery soon. From what he's heard, the amount of mishaps that could happen in treatment is utterly terrifying. Irked now, Yankee asks if he's threatening him. Getting up from his chair, McCoy says that the only reason his mother is even able to undergo extensive treatment at the hospital is because Yankee is already a hero. Walking past him now, McCoy threatens him, asking if he's going to take advantage of being a hero and avoid fulfilling his role as a hero. Coming to, Yankee freaks out, realizing that he was completely knocked out for a bit. Contacting HQ, he screams that this monster is insanely strong and has no idea what to do. Getting smacked about in a brutal frenzy, it's revealed that this rat, who we originally thought was wolf level, is truly a demon level threat. Its name is actually Shiva Huahua, and it monsterized due to becoming manic after extreme miniaturization. The creature is really only a lapdog, so going outside like it is now causes it to rampage out of pure fear and worry. Finishing the combo and punching the B-class hero away, back at HQ the assistants joke that he's pretty convincing. Kinda concerned, one questions if they're sure the monster was only a wolf level threat. Bleeding now and sure that this has to be some sort of mistake, bro knows it doesn't matter anyway. Even if this thing is strong or weak, if he screws up here and loses, he's fired. Clenching his teeth, Yankee tells himself to face this thing head on, just like Moomin Rider did. Crazily enough, old Yankee here was in the crowd of spectators during Moomin Rider's standoff against the Deep Sea King. I freaking love that episode, honestly such a goated anime episode with some of the best animation. Like damn, I don't mean to get sidetracked, but it easily holds up to today's standards, and I'm really hoping Mappa does some magic that can compare to Season 1 with Season 3 later this year, or maybe next perhaps. No idea when they're actually going to release Season 3, but I'm just hoping it's better than Season 2 at least. Anyway, telling the mutt to hold it, Yankee screamed that if he really is strong, then that's all the more of a reason to not run away. Actually just cooked here, Shiva freaks out and asks why the hero's glaring at him like that. Brutally pummeling the B-class hero again, Shiva affirms with themselves that this hero is his enemy, and he has to kill all enemies in order to bring peace. Believing that this has to be some form of divine punishment for taking part in fraudulent activity like this, Yankee falls back into a daze as he remembers screaming for Moomin Rider to win. He thought he had a pure goal in sight, however, in reality, things definitely turned out differently. Getting on the phone, he tells HQ that he's pretty sure he can't win here, so in case he passes, make sure to tell his mum that he quit as a hero and moved far away to a city and got a real job. Telling Yankee he understands, McCoy is just blown away with how good his acting is. Readying his final punch, Yankee as Papillion 800 charges towards a frightened Shiva's plethora of strikes. Randomly showing up though and one-punching the life out of Shiva, Saitama questions who the hell it was that let this thing loose. Stunned with the fact that he somehow survived, Yankee listens as Baldy tells him he looks hella messed up. Unable to believe that he was saved, Yankee collapses while also remembering that this dude was also the one who saved Moomin Rider. Back in HQ, the association's owner starts screaming at McCoy over his phone, asking what the hell just happened. Apologizing for the mix-up, McCoy looks back at our caped Baldy's banner and curses him for messing this all up. Now appearing in M City, McCoy scolds Genos and Saitama for not restraining themselves and killing the monster. Kinda confused on what this is all about, Genos is sure it was a demon level threat and it will go down as a great accomplishment on Saitama's record. McCoy reminds them though that Papillon weakened it a lot, so the credit should really go to him. Appearing behind the association higher up, Child Emperor asks if he's angry because his rigged game got all messed up. Intrigued, Genos asks what he means. McCoy, sweating balls and needing a way out of the situation, instead just walks off while claiming he has a lot of business to take care of. Now alone with Genos and Saitama, Child Emperor whips out his phone and reveals the secret hero gambling website. Genos realizes this explains the differing disaster levels and hero ranks he sees from time to time. Saitama though, having grabbed the phone, is just baffled. Seeing that he has a 20 times multiplier on himself, bro can't handle the fact that they're treating him like complete trash. Back on track though, Child Emperor explains on how he feels the association's dark roots seep through almost everything, so he plans to investigate more. Wanting to know why he's telling them this now, Child Emperor just says he felt bad about doubting them before. Obviously this is referring back to not inviting them to the meetings before attacking the monster association. Telling him to not worry about it though, we skip away to see the spokes of justice spinning at a relatively normal speed. Reawakening on the back of Moomin's bike, a stunned Yankee can't believe what he sees. Letting him know that they're not far away from the hospital now, Moomin explains on how he was watching the broadcast and was blown away by Yankee's strength. Embarrassed and denying it all, Yankee says the monster's level and his rank were all lies. Telling him the level never truly matters, Moomin explains that he stood up against something stronger than him without hesitation, and that's what it means to be a hero. Blown away with his idol's words, Yankee cries out and hugs his boy as they ride into the distance. Elsewhere, and unable to get any rest with the thought of his ridiculous multiplier running through his mind, Saitama gets his ass out of bed. Moments later, Genos arrived and asked him what would happen if he was to bet on himself then defeat the monster. Looking like death himself, Saitama thinks this is hypothetically probably the best way to stop this stupid hero gambling, while also making a bag of cash themselves. Scrolling through his phone and seeing that all of the new odds are published, both Genos and Saitama boost off in an attempt to find the new monster. Blasting past a few slower heroes on their way towards what they expect is the monster, Saitama gets even more annoyed upon seeing his multiplier increase to 25. About to place his bet, Saitama's attention is pulled away by a woman screaming at a thief that stole her purse. Seeing the random thief in an F1 car start to drop the DRS and leave the scene, Bro starts to deliberate on what he should actually do. Vanishing from sight, it's revealed that, of course, Saitama went after the thief. In turn, Tatsumaki ended up defeating the monster, and Saitama just became more depressed. Standing there now, and questioning if he was actually just doing this all for money, Saitama thinks it was a close scare, as gambling's pretty damn addictive. Whipping out a massive diamond ring, the woman offers it to Saitama as a reward for saving her family's heirlooms. It's said that after a great deal of time, the bald king refused the ring as he never took this job for money. Elsewhere with Atomic Samurai's disciples, the three of them go over the information they gained on Sweet Mask. Okamitachi notes that nothing is known about his history before he debuted as a hero. Bushido points out how his face changes often, so it's suspected he undergoes plastic surgery, yet there are no records of any procedures in any medical institutions, posing that it may be some kind of special ability. Ian thinks that if this is the case, his history being unknown could be possible, since he could have previously been living a different life with another face. Wondering if what Ian said earlier was true, Bushido reveals that when Ian was knocked out, he felt some kind of conflict happen in the mind of Sweet Mask. Ian recalls how it was a situation where he could have only targeted the monster, however it seemed as if he wanted to kill the hostages as well. All Ian can remember is a bloodthirsty homicidal maniac, and that Sweet Mask looked like a monster without a human heart that was struggling to control itself and somehow attain one. Bushido says that evil people can pretend like they have a heart, and asks if he thinks it's a bit premature to trust him. Saying they can confirm it in the future by continuing to investigate, Ian just knows he sensed earnestness in him, as those who don't have something often know its value more. Obviously Bro is referring to how Sweet might not even really have a heart here, and is trying to attain one because he knows the value behind it. Okamitachi thinks that if this is the case, they need to keep an eye on him, especially if the face changes are not just an ability, but a sign of monsterization. She doesn't exactly know how this is all going to turn out in the end, but truly hopes the day comes when they can be glad they didn't let him kill all of the mercenaries. Elsewhere, and preparing themselves for the rebirth of the new Council of Swordmasters, Nichiren, Atomic Samurai, and two newcomers are mourning the passing of the recently lost members. Hoping that her father can rest in peace, Amahade's daughter, Yuta hopes to take revenge and completely eradicate all remnants of the Monster Association. Speaking up, Nichiren apologizes to the second newcomer, Shido Yuta, the son of obviously the fallen member Zanbai. Replying that he really doesn't need to apologize, he elaborates on how his father was a bodyguard and would have been more than pleased to hear that Nichiren survived. Curious to how he did survive after getting his ass sliced in two, Atomic asks if he's doing alright. Laughing and revealing his new cybernetic attachments, Nichiren says he's doing freaking great. Standing up, he elaborates that when it comes to mastering everything else, you circulate the ki into your weapon and it will become a perfect part of your body. Tossing up an apple, he says it's exactly the same for a blade, or even an artificial body. Launching a flurry of strikes at the apple in front of him, Nichiren then sheaths his blade, and as it fully closes, the massive cliff behind the apple is sliced into a bunch of wedges. As the apple then lands back on the floor, Yuta and Shido pick it up, astonished that the apple wasn't sliced, but the cliff was. Telling them though that the apple has actually been cut, the two look back absolutely baffled. Grabbing the apple out of Shido's hand, Atomic asks if they've never seen it before. Nichiren's exquisite technique is such that his sword is so fast it doesn't even open a cut. The truth is though, that this silly little apple hasn't even noticed that it's been cut. Blown away, Shido wonders if he's just talking out his ass, but thinks it's nonetheless fascinating. Mentioning that he heard Bang retired as a hero, Nichiren questions what his plan is now. It's then revealed that the only reason Atomic actually became a hero was because he wanted to compete with Bang. Realizing he really did say that to begin with, Atomic thinks back on the Monster Association battle and says it's different now. He gets to experience things that he can't get anywhere else. Not to mention, among all of the top heroes, there's still a specific man whose power is unfathomable to Atomic. Whether he continues as a hero now entirely depends on if King is truly that guy. Watching his friend leave, Nichiren thinks that Atomic has changed. He's much more tolerant of others than he used to be, and has broadened his outlook on life. Kinda laughing to himself, Nichiren says that maybe being a hero isn't too bad of an idea either. Back with the boys now, Saitama and Genos make their way back to the association, or more specifically, Saitama's apartment. Nearby, the music nut, Forte, lets Black Sperm and Rover know that their little heart is ready. Knowing he doesn't really have any other choice in this, Black S just endures it for the time being. Rolling up to the scene now, Forte looks over to see Saitama and, as he knows him, Demon Cyborg walking over. Having the forethought to know he'll recognize him, Black S darts behind his new home. Funnily enough as well, while Saitama was actually thanking Forte for building the hut for, Rover, Genos recognizes the pup as a monster from the Monster Association. Curious, Forte speaks up asking why the S-Class heroes are here, while also introducing himself to Genos. Saitama lets his boy know that this dude here, Forte, is his neighbor, giving the bot a devious idea. Cutting to the chase, Genos demands that Forte hands over his room and he will be bringing his luggage around later to move in. Which is absolutely hilarious. Poor Forte has just been absolutely trolled from the moment he showed up in the story. Later and over in M City again, we find that Atomic Samurai and his gang tried meeting up with who I think was King in his apartment, but missed him as the hero was currently out. Going to a sushi restaurant with them to mash back some food, the group is baffled when their orders keep getting taken. Hearing the random person behind them go to grab another of their ordered meals, Atomic snaps and goes to attack the civilian. Stopping himself though, it's shown that no one other than King was raxing all their food. Of course it's bloody King. Walking up to him and confronting the strongest man on earth, Atomic tells the hero he came here to meet him today and wants to talk for a moment. Hearing the King engine kick into gear, a devious looking Atomic says he's quick to understand and asks that he step outside. Chewing on his food, King listens as Atomic says he never confirmed the extent of his strength with his own eyes. Asking if he came here to confirm it then, King's told to hurry his ass up and decide. Telling him to wait though, King smacks himself in the chest. Turns out dude actually got so freaked out by the confrontation he ended up choking on the food he was just chewing on, which is bruh. Stunned with what they've just all seen, the disciples tell him he'll end up dead if he underestimates their master. Intrigued himself, Atomic says the rumors must be true. King has balls of steel. Questioning if he really thinks he can handle his blade with just a pair of chopsticks, King, obviously internally freaking out, doesn't think he can. Grabbing a plate out now with an apple on it, Atomic in a flash does something to it before throwing it over to King. Exploding into hundreds of cubes in his hands, King freaks out even more over what the hell just happened. Letting darkness take him, Atomic tells King to step the hell outside, one last time. Out in a random park now, Atomic lets his fellow hero know that they shouldn't just prattle on about random crap. Instead, and now turning into a demonic form of himself, he explains that the best way for him to get a measure of his true skill would be to pretend he's a monster and make King fight him. Letting his engine kick into gear, King wonders why it always has to be him. He thinks guys like Atomic are the worst, and the fact he's coming at King with all of these random accusations when he doesn't even know him baffles the world's strongest man. Watching Atomic unsheath his blade, King internally screams that he's weak and really just wants to tell him he's sorry. Revving at full damn tilt, King just begs for some random ass force to come and help him. In front of him, Atomic stands there anticipating the unknown. Tensing, he says that sizing each other up is getting boring and lets King know he's about to attack. Screaming out that this is enough though, King catches everyone off guard as he tells them it looks like they've forgotten it's Tuesday. Seeing Atomic just utterly confused, King points over at Ian while saying that it already looks like his disciple has figured it out. In reality, Ian probably doesn't have a damn clue. But that's not actually what matters to King. Instead, he announces there isn't anything else to say now and begins to walk off. Demanding that he stop though and explains what the hell he's going on about, King turns back and rattles off some facts about the Earth's atmosphere. What he narrows down on though is a very specific element known as Ingawaztin. This specific element reacts with the ponylisms contained in ionizing radiation, causing the organophone phenomenon. Continuing to explain, he lets them know that there was a full moon last Thursday. This means that at exactly noon today, it will change into a dual squat phase. Some of the nerdier ones with the correct equipment have actually already started to notice it. However, King reiterates that the fact remains, it has begun. Utterly baffled and like, who the hell wouldn't be, because the King is literally just talking out his ass. Either way, he asks if they've never even heard of the Dolzena Bring reaction before. Mentally fried after all of this, the group just replies no. Walking off now, King says that if they did fight here, it would without a doubt bring about a major catastrophe. Atomic tries to tell him to wait, but King again rages out. He already explained that he didn't want to cause any needless casualties, and with the world how it is nowadays, he thinks they surely both have something more important they could be doing. Agreeing with this, Atomic still asks that King wait though. Realizing that there really isn't any way out of the situation, King falls into a depression and poses the idea of cutting clean with everything. He knows he'll probably get beaten up, but for him, it beats dying in an instant here. Going to fess up, Atomic cuts him off and reveals that he has a completely different request. Instead of a fight, all he wants him to do now is cut this apple. King tries to say he's an amateur, but Atomic tells him it doesn't matter. He has a strange skill set and just wants to do a sort of palm reading on King. Seeing King pick up the sword, Atomic says that all he wants him to do is cut the apple. Dropping down onto his knees and picking up the blade, all of the disciples suddenly ready themselves as King goes to strike. Revving up the engine and imposing himself over the apple, King towers above it, ready to slice it down. Time passes, yet King for some reason seemingly places the sword back down, surprising everyone around who's completely confused as to what the hell he's doing. Standing up and quickly turning away from the group, sweat begins to pour from King's forehead. Turns out, bro wasn't even able to unsheath the blade. In fact, his arms were at their limit from just holding the pose he was in, trying to cut it and pull the blade out. He knows it's completely over for him now. He has no other tricks left. Standing there, King can already feel the annoyed glare from Atomic making him not want to turn around. Not turning around, Pro just ends up strolling off and going home, stunning everyone behind him. Not even sure what the freak just happened, the disciples all ask Atomic what this means. Sweating himself, Atomic admits that he was unable to even see his swordsmanship. The series of movements King used, Atomic couldn't read any of them. He compares it to when the Chidden had cut the apple, saying that the apple hasn't even realized it's been cut yet. Coming to a conclusion, Atomic is sure King performed the supernatural feat of slicing the blade through the gaps between atoms. Something only he thought himself and the Chidden were able to do. On top of that, the blade itself hasn't even realized that it was unsheathed. Blown away, Atomic understands if he was to reveal an attack that surpassed his strongest, he would have also remained silent. Remembering how King tried to say he was only an amateur with a blade, Atomic calls him truly an outrageous monster. Laughing out loud and claiming that it's been ages since he felt this ashamed, Atomic turns to his disciples and lets them all know that he's going to redo his training from scratch. Despite this, he asks if they will all still follow him. Over with King though, dude's just ill after wordsmithing his way out of the situation, and he thinks to himself that he'll grab some medicine before heading home. Elsewhere in his compound, Child Emperor knows he can no longer rely on Dr. Beaufoy. The more he seems to investigate the association, the more it seems rotten to its core. Having no faith in it anymore, he adds more defenses to his base and vows to surpass them all, the association, all the S-classes, and Dr. Beaufoy. Getting a message on his watch and noticing that it was from Zombie Man, he smiles and reaffirms that he isn't just doing this for himself, but heroes like Zombie Man who are serious about dealing with evil roots in the association. Later on, and in a random cafe, an absolutely shell-shocked Child Emperor gets a milkshake delivered to him. Noticing how down in the dumps he looks, Zombie Man asks what's up. Hearing that his classmates were making fun of him for his hero name, Zombie Man tries to tell him to not worry about it. Spazzing the frick out instantly, he asks him how he's supposed to do that. He was given this embarrassing ass hero name to start with, which is actually crack up as hell. I never actually knew the heroes didn't have a choice in their hero names, but I guess this kind of confirms it, unless it was a parental thing for Child Emperor. Either way, slapping his hands down on the table, he says everyone has been laughing on the inside when they hear his name, same with Zombie Man as well. Running off, he says he's just disappointed in everyone and hates adults. Not being able to stop him, Zombie Man knows this probably isn't a good time for the kid, and the stress of the entire situation is probably just getting to him. Needing to hurry though, he whips out his phone and sends who I suspect to be Child Emperor a heartfelt message about trying to help ease his burden. Elsewhere at a takoyaki stand, that mosquito chick from way back in like episode 2 is seen giving 2 kids their order. Running off, the boys wonder why she's all dressed up like a fly, causing her to rage out and threaten their lives. Stopping her in time though, Armored Gorilla jabs a massive ass needle into her back and gives her some blood to help calm her down. Turning to Genos, Gorilla asks that he hurry up with the creation of her blood sac since she's getting hangry way too quickly these days. Telling them to deal with it for the time being, he lets them know that it's still in the incubation tank being created, so can't do anything about it. Interrupting their little conversation, Zombie Man enters the room and sits down with Genos. Speaking up, he explains that there is a guy who defeated Monster Garou with 1 hit. To him, it defies all common sense, but it's possibly just like Genos had told him earlier. The man's limiter had been removed. Looking at the scientist, Zombie Man asks him to try and remove his limiter. Calling him number 66 once again, Genos goes on to say that this shop actually has a basement, and there happens to be something interesting down there he wants to show him. Back over at the New Hero Association building, a random member is explaining the death of a certain individual from one of the association's sponsor companies to Snake. According to him, the man had been missing since the end of last year. However, several days ago, skeletal remains were found in a hidden room under his house. Inspecting the photos, Snake can't help but notice how badly the man was torn to pieces. Based on this, the assistant says the police came to the conclusion that the perpetrator was a monster. So, since this is not a normal criminal case, but a monster disaster, it was handed over to the Hero Association. The assistant asks that Snake take the lead for both the investigation and the elimination of this monster. Still, since the incident happened around 2 years ago, he thinks it will take a while to end up getting solved. So for now, they just need to show the police and victims that they're trying to do something. Placing the contract down in front of him, the assistant asks that he sign it and then the contract fee will be transferred over to him within the week. Leaving the room now with the contract still in his hand, Snake walks past Child Emperor who's taken out the trash. Speaking up, he asks if Snake was just put in charge of finding the perp in the skeleton basement case. Sweating with confusion, Snake asks Child Emp how the hell he even knew that. Raging out and telling him to not call him Child Emperor, Snake, stunned, notices his new outfit and asks what's up with it. Replying that it's nothing, he just felt like a little bit of a change now. Snake wonders if Lil Bro is starting to go through a delinquent phase. Continuing, Child Emperor says something was bothering him about that case, so he took the time and originally investigated it himself. In the end, he was able to figure out who actually did it, stunning Snake. According to Isamu, among the executives of the Hero Association, there are individuals who run illegal side businesses selling captured monsters as pets and ornaments. Sadly, it seems like there may have been a few cases where those monsters have escaped or caused disasters during the distribution process once they reach their buyers. This isn't even the first time it's happened, and the project that Snake's just taken on is one example of a few that have been bouncing around recently. Stunned with this info, Snake can only listen as Isamu says the monster he's after was exterminated 6 months ago. He confirmed it himself from the individual's ID chip that was implanted into the monster's body. Apparently the association handled this in secret to prevent nasty rumours spreading about the Hero Association. With this in mind, and feeling like he's just been let in on a massive scandal, Snake asks why in the world he told him this. Going to walk off, Isamu just says it was because he felt bad about him chasing a monster that's already been exterminated. With Child Emperor having left now, Snake starts to get peeved and crunches the contract up after realizing that the executives were just screwing him over. Outside of the association's building, Isamu notifies someone of his location and tells them to land in front of Gate 2. On the road now, a large Neo Heroes helicopter-like vehicle floats down in front of Isamu to pick him up. Back inside, the higher-ups are all arguing over how different heroes have started to leave, and they don't know why. Bursting in, a brand new post-plastic surgery sweet mask tells them it's simple. They've been dumped by a brilliant 10-year-old hero. A few days back, Child Emperor came to the board with a petition containing a summary of opinions from heroes in B class or below, as well as the general public. It described a litany of problems with the hero system and a bunch of plans on how to improve it. In conclusion, it mainly proposed a reconstructing of the association and a new team that would specialise in countermeasures against major disasters of Dragon and above. However, Sweet points out that no one really even took the time to read it. Telling them all to watch something, he presses play on a new commercial TV ad. Over the next 30 seconds, the ad goes over how everyone's new favourite heroes, the Neo heroes, have a new hero entering their ranks. Of course, it's no one other than Child Emperor, who goes by Wild Emperor now. Sweetmask tells them all that now since an S-class hero has moved over, it's only going to get easier and easier for the Neo heroes to poach their talent. Snapping his fingers though, he says this is where he gets to his main topic. He explains that if they want to overcome this crisis, what they need is to restore their lost credibility and have some kind of pillar of spiritual support that can dissuade their heroes from switching sides. Pretty much, they need a perfect hero, and he'd like to start a project to produce such a hero. Having received all this in advance, they ask Sweet if he's really serious about this. If they want to pick someone for a training project, why not get someone a little more exciting? Like the only recent accomplishments he has is taking down a wolf level monster that was already weakened by other people. Chuckling to himself, Sweetmask tells the higher ups that they can't even recognise their own problems until it's too late to solve them. While all of them narrow-minded asses have been sitting here getting absolutely nothing done, he's been chatting it, expanding his connections in all areas, politics, government, business, everything. Now he says it's time for him to make use of those. The future of the association depends on whether this project succeeds or fails, and he'd like every single one of them to do their best to not drag it down. Getting a call on his phone, McCoy excuses himself from the room to answer it. Walking away, he calls Sweet a fool as he already knows all about his secret from analysing the info he had on him. Not to mention how he was celebrated as an advisor to the association as well as its public face. McCoy is adamant that if his true identity were to be revealed at the right time, it would become a major scandal. Those in power who have some kind of connection to him could have their downfall caused, and they'd never forgive Sweet or the association if it did happen. Once it does happen, everything will be his, and Sweet would be hunted down by the Neo heroes. Through this, the Neo heroes will gain the appreciation from the higher ups as well as the public, while the Hero Association will get constant death glares from all of these sponsors and hopefully go completely under. After the association falls, McCoy will then take all of the data he has accumulated as a gift, and the Neo heroes will welcome him on board with open arms. Answering his phone, McCoy tells Ryomon that it looks like his hero gambling thing is going pretty well and everything is going according to their plan. Chuckling, the Neo Heroes executive, Mr. Ruimon, says it's great to hear and he's looking forward to all of their gambling customers heading his way. Joking that this joint gets even more wild, the Neo Madman reveals that they allow their gamblers to bet on the monsters as well as the heroes. Plus, since the damn monsters keep on multiplying and multiplying, he thinks the competition is going to become absolutely hectic. Standing back behind him, we see 5 mysterious looking individuals who probably make up the stronger members of this Neo Heroes organization. Later on, and in another meeting, Sekingar, having removed his cybernetic eye and hand, thanks everyone for taking care of him. Jumping back in surprise, the executives are all shocked by the sudden departure of Sekingar. Reading out the resignation note, a shocked McCoy notes how the timing seems suspicious and questions if the dude is also being recruited by the Neo Heroes. Not needing to keep the secret, Sekingar confirms his suspicions and feels like it's overall better for ensuring the safety of most citizens. Annoyed at the severity of the situation though, McCoy tried to paint Sekingar as a traitor who's betraying all of the people who have supported him up until now. Replying that he's a member of the organisation, Sekingar says he knows people won't trust him if he engages in such devious activities. Bowing and stating that it is time he takes his leave, Sekingar indeed leaves. Still over at the table, McCoy questions Sitch, asking if he perhaps discussed this with him beforehand. Obviously this is actually because Sitch and, Sekingar are kind of boys, they get along really well and, they've been there since day one together. Instantly shutting it down though, he explains that Sekingar used to want to become a hero. Unlike them, the office workers, he's sure that he has his own kind of policies and ideals when it comes to working with heroes. Sitch says that if he did make this choice by himself based on that, then he respects his decision and that's all. In another location though, in the Hero Association building, Sekingar retrieves a briefcase and heads to an elevator before opening it. Inside, he finds his new eye, a hand, and a few more sneaky attachments. After installing all of the new tech, Sekingar is hit with a flurry of information that begins to flow into him. Speaking up, he asks Isamu if he's able to hear him while letting the young bloke know he's installed all of the new mods he gave to him. Letting him know he'd done a great job and everything seems to be working perfectly well, Wild says his gear should be of a lot higher performance than the last ones he got from the association. Telling Wild that it's time, Sekingar says they'll integrate into the Neo Heroes, then, once inside, infiltrate them and find out both McCoy's scheme and whether the Neo Heroes is developing any plans to counter the Hero Association. After being complimented by Wild, Sekingar says it would have been fantastic if him and Sitch caught McCoy red-handed, but at the same time, if Child Emperor didn't offer to help them, there would have been nothing he could have done. Speaking up, Wild simply thought removing McCoy from his position and condemning him would fix it. However, if they did that, they wouldn't know what the Neo Heroes has in their grasps. Agreeing that indeed, if they went about it any other way, heroes would be put at risk, Sekingar tells him he's about to head over to the Neos and should probably talk about this later. Leaving the elevator, Sekingar comes to a halt as no one other than Metal Bat stood before him. Telling him that he's heard he was leaving for the Neo Heroes, Sekingar asks what exactly he wants. Is he here to deal with the traitor? Soothing the tension though, Metalbat says that isn't the case at all. Instead, he starts to explain a meeting he had with Sitch the prior day. There, Sitch pleaded with Metalbat to move to the new Hero Association building and protect the rich folk there, to which he obviously denied. For him, he'd never want to let his sister see him playing around with the ugly, privileged, biased money-grabbing goons who hide in a shelter and leave all of the ordinary citizens to fend for themselves. Understanding what he's saying, Sitch smiles and says he's astonished at how single-minded he is, and actually expected it. Giving up on trying to get him to move homes, Sitch instead asks that, in return, he allows him to ask him something extremely important. Back in today's timeline, Metalbat finishes explaining that, in the end, he was instructed to come as Sekingar's bodyguard and join the Neo Heroes. Happy with his mate for setting this up, Metalbat gasses Sek up some more, saying he'd make a fantastic hero with how he's jumping headfirst into the enemy lines without explaining it to anyone. Finally, Metalbat then says that even if they do get busted, in the end, he doesn't need to worry as he'll make sure not a single finger is laid on him. Smiling and happy to be working together, the duo then walk off towards the Neo Heroes helicopter. Skipping away from that and flying all the way over to the retired GOAT's dojo, of course Silver Fangs, there a mysterious man confronts Tranko. Of course, it's Garou making his first return since just after the Monster Association arc. Obviously there was that chapter at the end, but that was kind of the final chapter of the arc and everything. Either way, trying to bully the top student, he demands that they go and get him a few things quickly. Getting smacked over the back of the head though, Bang asks what kind of junior he's being. Now annoyed and cleaning the dojo, Gojo questions why he has to do all this BS. Overhearing him, Sourface teases Gojo, telling his pinnacle defeating ass to clean another dusty spot, causing him to rage out again. After beating his head in once more, Bang tells Garou he needs to work hard from the lowest position so the people he caused trouble will accept him again. Noticing the time, Bang laughs as he realizes it's already time for Garou's next acceptance task, his part-time job. Hearing him complain though, Bang just says he should be thankful for such a chance and needs to stop moaning about his literal court-ordered obligations. Due to his rampaging ass causing the disciples from the dojo to leave, it's left Bang in a little bit of a financial pinch, so he needs Garou to go out and make some cash. Not needing to be told to make fat stacks though, Garou jumps off the cliff and heads into town to do so. Finally having some peace and quiet, Tranko lays down to read his book. However, fear starts coursing through his veins as he sees an unbelievable sight. Running to get Bang, he lets the old dude know he is an extraordinary visitor. With his engine already up and running, King walks past Tranko to confront Bang. Looking down, he says there's an important matter he would like to discuss between just the two of them. Wondering what it could be, Bang says he won't return to being a hero. Breaking down though, King says that with the current rate he's at, he's going to hit his limits. He's got nowhere to run, he really can't do anything. Just yesterday he was confronted by Atomic Samurai, and if his true identity is revealed, he'll face all sorts of hate. He's terrified. Having heard that Big D was retiring, he thought it'd be easy to get along with him, like surely he's already seen through his fakeness. He knows it's all selfish, but other than hiding here with him, he really doesn't have a choice. Not catching what he even blabbered on about due to the thumping bass from King's engine, Bang, like an old fart, asks him to speak up a little bit. Groaning with an orgasmic need for power, King begged with all he had to make him stronger. Stunned and not really sure why, Bang asks what he's on about. He's already attained strength that no equal knows. Thinking about his own past, he says he was once an untouchable ruffian who had the exact same thought as his own. If only I could become so overwhelmingly strong that I could negate all evil in the entire world. Yet, Bang relays it's impossible. Garou had a similar thought, but it just ended in failure. No matter how sturdy one may be, just a singular pillar is unable to hold peace itself. In this day and age, monsters are starting to go after civilians more and more than ever. Rather than try to find ways to empower himself even further, Bang thinks it's more important for him to develop one's ability to lead those weaker than him, just like he does in his dojo now. Getting bloody triggered though, King rages out, saying the old man doesn't understand. He isn't talking about things on a grand scale. His problem is far more simple. He is weak and wants to get stronger. Everything about him is a big ass lie. He's a total weakling. Overhearing this, Chiranko in the corner, losing his mind, questions if a bunch of these stories about King defeated a plethora of different enemies and the rumour that the majority of mythologies foreshadowed his birth were all a lie. Confirming this for him, a few other members take a shocked Chiranko off as he tries to even comprehend what's going on. I love how Bang just tells him to stop it as well, like tells Chiranko to chill out bro, like get over it, like stop acting up. Speaking to King now, Bang tells him his sense of responsibility is something to be proud of, but there isn't a need to shoulder it all on his own. He has comrades who can help him. After all, that's what the association is for. Grabbing his shoulder, Bang comforts King, happy to have heard of how weak he truly was, as frankly the stronger someone is, the more acutely aware they are of their own weaknesses. If he doesn't forget that, there isn't a limit to how strong he'll be able to become. Mentally collapsing, King just loses it, trying to say that their thoughts aren't even in the same dimension. Later on, and probably having heard from Bang, Bomb was led to believe that King was in pursuit of a power in a completely different dimension. Leaping into the air and performing his awed-over whirlwind iron-cutting fist, Bomb destroys a large pile of boulders, carving them with one hit into a thick stone pole. Standing atop it, Bomb can see King isn't interested in such cheap tactics though. Smiling and whipping out a brush, he remarks he'll write him a letter of introduction to another place and should pay them a visit. Following this, he was redirected to several other dojos, with literally not a single one believing they'd be able to train him because he's freaking King. Seething with discontent, King hates the fact no one even listens to what he's saying, much less take him in. Lastly, King finally makes his way to a legendary training ground in a cavern deep in the mountains. Standing outside the large opening, King wonders if anyone's actually out here in a place like this. Tiptoeing his way in, King politely asks if anyone happens to be home. Noticing someone in front of him, he says the Rapid Truth Rigid Fist Dojo referred him to this place and does he have a moment to chat? Upon looking closer though and seeing what he thinks is a mummified man, King falls backwards scared and screaming out that he's pretty sure he's seen this exact same thing in an anime. Knowing that isn't what he asked for, Bro sprints out of the dojo while chanting for the ghost to stay away from him. Behind him, the thought to be dead man slowly wakes back up, having actually just dozed off. Boosting it back down the stairs, King sees the silhouette of a monster that scares the life out of him and makes him run even faster to hurry up and get home. Obviously, the monster he saw was good old Manako, who here made her first appearance since the Monster Association arc as well. It's actually great to see that she's still alive and kicking. I'm pretty sure as well they're going to end up playing a stupidly large part in the story again, but who knows what their future holds. Back at the Hero Association now, King immediately went to Saitama's home and revealed all of his failed attempts to become stronger. After he finishes, he asks Saitama what he thinks he should do now. The way things are going for him, he might have no other choice than to get killed by a monster before everyone finds out he's actually weak. Seeing his friends start to cry over how shit his life is, Saitama just tells him to start lifting. Getting cut off though, the duo hear a ruckus from nearby and assume it's most likely Genos, who Saitama explains to King kicked his next door neighbor out and moved in there. Opening the door, turns out it was no one other than the goddamn bangin' Fubuki, who had come to recruit Saitama into the group for like the umpteenth time now. As part of the enrollment, Saitama was set to receive some top quality beef. Slamming the door in her face though, Fubuki straight up whips it straight back open and tells him that that's no way to say hi. Questioning why she was still looking for members and relying on other people, Fubuki tells Saitama he's getting the wrong idea again. She doesn't have any intention to rely on him and just thought him joining her could result in a bit of fun. From here on out, the Blizzard group will actually be changing policy so that all members will be aiming for a promotion to A class. Just then, overgrown Rover appears out of nowhere and snatches the high quality beef out of Fubuki's hands before chomping it down. Feeling like she's seen this dog somewhere, and given the circumstances about what just happened, getting the door slammed in her face and all, Fubuki and her group decide to head back to their headquarters. However, overgrown Rover chases their asses down as they walk off. Soon after arriving at the base, the group immediately face a huge monster. Initially it actually seemed like the Blizzard group was struggling to defeat it, until Rover jumped in and one-shot it. Stunned with the pup's power, and after seeing that it'll only eat top quality beef, Fubuki had Rover join her group as their new pet. Well, that there officially brings us to the very end of the Neo Heroes arc for One Punch Man, which is quite an interesting arc. It's a very big setup arc. You can tell that this here is like the very early stages of what we had with like the Monster Association and that kind of part of the anime, I guess, because I never really read the manga. So that's just kind of going through a bunch of random, like fights and stories, chucking Saitama in here and there and just doing some random stuff, which I like. It brings back like the memeability of the series and just like the laughs that I get from reading it on a day-to-day basis, not having to worry about like ridiculous fights that do happen, even though the fights are freaking amazing when they do happen. But of course, if you have enjoyed the video, do be sure to leave a like and subscribe. We'll try and push this video to 5,000 likes, and if you guys get there quickly enough, I will smash out like a 6-hour or something long video going over the entire One Punch Man series, because I'll cover the stuff from the anime. Also, feel free to check out the Patreon to get early access to content for as little as $2 a month. Either way, enough of me rambling on, my voice is dying. For now, it's been your professional degenerate Diavolo, and I'll see you all in a bit. Bye.